One of my favorite parts in Jewish liturgy is when in the beginning of Amidah, of the standing prayer, we say, please help me to speak. We ask for inspiration to say the prayer. But at the very end, there is a text which is only written in Siddur for silent meditation. So, Elohai nitzor leshoni mera, please guard my tongue from evil speech. So we ask in the beginning for inspiration to speak, and at the end, for inspiration to be silent. And let's begin with this quote. Take the word butterfly. To use this word is not necessary to make the voice weigh less than an ounce or equip it with small dusty wings. It's not necessary to invent a sunny day or a field of daffodils. It's not necessary to be in love or to be in love with butterflies. The word butterfly is not a real butterfly. There is the word and there is the butterfly. If you confuse these two items, people have the right to laugh at you. Do not make so much of the word. Are you trying to suggest that you love butterflies more perfectly than anyone else, or really understand their nature? The word butterfly is merely data. It is not an opportunity for you to hover, soar, befriend flowers, symbolize beauty and frailty, or in any way impersonate a butterfly. Do not act out words. Never act out words. This is what Leonard Cohen wrote in 1978 in his book, Death of a Ladies' Man. And it seems to me very counterintuitive. It seems like the text diminishes the importance of words. And in Jewish tradition, we put so much importance in words. We read and try to understand the exact meaning. But here, this text, the Leonard Cohen, disconnects the word butterfly from the real butterfly. And perhaps he is right. We will never understand what a butterfly is. Yet, on the other hand, this is as close as we can get. We can never experience life from a butterfly's perspective. We can never fully understand a butterfly's life. All we have is a word that each of us can understand in a different way. It limits us, but at the same time, it opens room for something beautiful and inexplicable, and that's the beauty of our language. So yes, we can never say exactly what we feel and what's reality, but this ambiguity, this gap between the word butterfly and real butterfly is where the beauty lies in the language. The word butterfly is just one example, but we could take any other word and say the same. And I've been thinking about this in the context of a ceremony that will take place tomorrow morning. And this ceremony is Kabbalat Torah. This is the name of the coming-of-age ceremony in Judaism, and especially in progressive Judaism. It used to be called confirmation, but now it is called Kabbalat Torah. Receiving of the Torah, that's a translation. Kabbalat Torah, Kabbalah, or likabel, to receive, Torah, Torah. What do we mean by when we say this, Kabbalat Torah? Why is the ceremony called Kabbalat Torah and not any other name? Most scholars attribute the creation of this ceremony, which used to be called confirmation, to Israel Jacobson, the wealthy German businessman and a founder or nominal founder of Reform or Progressive Judaism. In 1810, investing a large sum of money, of his own money, Jacobson built a new synagogue and a school in Germany. He introduced many radical reforms into the way how the service is conducted and the Judaism is presented, including the use of an organ and a mixed male-female seating. So it's been since 1810. So you can calculate how long has been present. Jacobson felt that bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, there was no bat mitzvah then, so bar mitzvah was an outdated ceremony. Accordingly, when the teenagers were about to graduate from his school, Jacobson designed a new graduation ceremony, held in the school rather than the synagogue, collective rather than personal, and boys and girls participated together rather than traditional bar mitzvah that was only for boys. In this manner, confirmation came into being. It was much later when this ceremony received the name Kabbalat Torah. It is to do with the fact that it was often held at the end of the academic school year, which often coincided with the Jewish festival, or was very close to the Jewish festival Shavuot. This is the festival when we celebrate receiving of the Torah, Kabbalat Torah. Liberal Judaism website says that in the early history of the development of liberal Judaism in this country, so 120 years ago, the founders of liberal Judaism felt that at the age of 13, students were too young to be seen as an adult and to declare commitments to the community or to end their formal education. And for these reasons, the ceremony Kabbalat Torah was introduced. It was called confirmation then. At the age of 15 or later, sometimes 16, it is felt that students are able to have a more mature and personal understanding of Jewish values and able to affirm their commitment to Judaism and as a consequence of their personal decision. So in the early history of liberal Judaism, there was no bar or bat mitzvah. There was only Kabbalat Torah, or confirmation, if you prefer. So, and the records of our synagogue, we have a book. We have a book of records that records every single Kabbalat Torah student from the beginning of this synagogue. And tomorrow, 6 new names will appear on that book, connecting these people to the history that goes back to over 100 of years in the history of the synagogue and hundreds of years of progressive Judaism. So one of the reasons for the preference of Kabbalat Torah over Bar and Bat Mitzvah is egalitarian nature of Kabbalat Torah. As you probably know, the Bar Mitzvah used to be a time when girls were not allowed to come near the Torah scroll or even serious Torah study. It is still the case in some Jewish communities. Therefore, introducing Bat Mitzvah, so the ceremony for girls that is the same, that is practically the same as Bar Mitzvah, was unequal from the beginning. Some people saw Bat Mitzvah as encouraging girls to be like boys. Wouldn't it be better to have a different ceremony which would allow all people to be themselves and not to play into the pre-existing dynamics of patriarchal Judaism? Confirmation came to be such a ceremony, equal from the very beginning. In the same way, as we will never know what it means to be a butterfly, we will never understand the revelation, the moment when the Torah appeared in the world. Or doesn't matter what you believe in miraculous appearance or in the editorial process, but we will never understand it. What we do have today is a ceremony called Kabbalat Torah, receiving of the Torah. Tomorrow morning we will have such a ceremony at the LJS. 6 young people will lead the service, read from the Torah, and give their understanding of what it means to be Jewish and to have faith. It will never be like the real Kabbalat Torah, but it will appeal. It will, each person sitting in the congregation will understand all the words in their own way. Poems and texts they will recite tomorrow morning will be heard by community and therefore will become an act of Kabbalat Torah, receiving of the Torah for all of us. It will not be the same as the real revelation, but it will be as close to it as we can get. Leonard Cohen wrote beautifully about this principle. The poem is nothing but information. It is the constitution of the inner country. If you declaim it and blow it up with noble intentions, then you're no better than the politicians whom you despise. You're just someone waving a flag and making the cheapest kind of appeal to a kind of emotional patriotism. Think of the words as science, not as art. They are a report. You are speaking before a meeting of the Explorers Club of the National Geographic Society. And this is an example. These people know all the risk of mountain climbing. They honor you by taking this for granted. If you rub their faces in it, that is an insult to their hospitality. Tell them about the height of the mountain, the equipment you used, the specifics about the surfaces, and the time it took to scale it. Don't work the audience for gasps and sighs. If you're worthy of gasps and sighs, it will not be from your appreciation of the event, but from theirs. It's very interesting. We live in the society when it became the norm not to compare your experience with somebody else. People criticize you when you say, well, I understand, I know what you mean, because you don't, and you don't know what other people mean. And people encourage you not to speak on behalf of minority groups, but to give them time, an opportunity to speak instead. This is true, and perhaps we should all do it. But listening to others, just the act of listening, is not enough. In the same way as it is not enough to say the word butterfly or to tell the fact that you climbed the mountain, Judaism asks us to relive experiences we hear and read about. On Pesach, we are commanded to see ourselves as if it was each of us who was liberated from slavery. When we listen to stories, experience Kabbalat Torah ceremony, or hear Torah reading, we have to take active role and relive the moment of revelation. This way, it becomes our revelation, personal Kabbalat Torah. And I would like to say thank you to all of you who, at this service, for being witnesses, reliving the words of our tradition and becoming the best possible version of modern Torah, modern Judaism, and modern Kabbalat Torah. And I know that some people here will be the main characters of the Kabbalat Torah, and I am looking forward to it. And I am looking forward to reliving the moment of the receiving the Torah from 6 students of KT class. Shabbat Shalom.